Most of the developed nations have single-payer health care, but we don't. Why did we diverge from everyone else? How did that happen?
Nearly 100% of the reason why the United States is the only country in the world that doesn't define healthcare as a right and doesn't have any sort of national healthcare system to speak of is because of racism. It really began in the 1880s, 1890s when medicine became a thing. And there was this guy named Frederick Ludwig Hoffman who came over here from Germany. And he was a young man. He was 17, in fact, when he came over, and was a numbers genius. And he was the guy who figured out that there was a statistical association between working in a cotton mill and having lung problems, asbestos and mesothelioma, smoking and lung cancer, and diet and cancer. In fact, his book on the association between a high processed food diet and cancer is still in print. He's been dead since 1946, but his book is still around. So he's really smart in these things. And so he married this Southern belle from Georgia who was from a racist plantation family. And so he ran the numbers on black people and found that black people were dying, dropping like flies, more likely to be sick, more likely to die of pretty much everything. And concluded, which was the general consensus at the time among a lot of white people in the South, this is again in the 1890s, that black people were genetically inferior. And in 1896, he published a book called Race, Tendencies, and Traits of the American Negro, in which he lays out all the numbers, and then he concludes that if we simply avoided allowing black people to have any access to health care, that within 2 or 3 generations, the whole race would die out, and that would solve the race problem in America. And by the 1920s, this was referred to as scientific racism. He was testifying about it before Congress. When Teddy Roosevelt, 1912, proposed a national health care system, people said no because black people will get it. When Franklin Roosevelt proposed a national health care system, it was the same thing. We don't want black people to get it. When Truman tried it in 47, same thing. Don't want black people to get it. Right up until 1965, Senator Stennis, the Dixiecrats in the South, was quoting Hoffman as saying this, we have to figure out a way to keep black people from using Medicare. This is when they were passing Medicare. And the way that they came up with was to have a 20% hole, a gap in Medicare, so that you had to pay 20% of your doctor's bill and your hospital bill. And that would discourage poor black people from showing up at the hospitals. I mean, it was the most shocking thing I discovered, Cenk, when I was doing the research on this book, is that nearly 100% of the reason why the United States is the only country in the world that doesn't define healthcare as a right and doesn't have any sort of national healthcare system to speak of is because of racism. And that's why you've got 12 states that still haven't expanded Medicaid, right? Free health insurance for low-income people, all former slave states.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kakwadash. Double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations to all the Akim, after on the four corners, teaching truth and sincerity. I played a video, going into reasonings why America does not have health care or universal health care, okay? And ever since the 1900s, the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, the reason why that they don't have health care, universal health care in the States, seeing that it's supposed to be, a one first world Slovakia. A first world, it just slipped my Slovakia. A first world country, it's said that it's supposed to be, one of the higher elite countries in the world. All right, but Esau is being chanted down right now by Yahweh Shmi Shai. So all that hatred, that could have assisted Jake, which are you so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negro descent, that was taken off the table, because of sheer and utter racism that shows that Esau Edom would rather not have health care for himself just to spite you tribes, so-called Black Latinos, Native Americans. Okay, and yeah, it would have made life a little livable here, but the Most High doesn't want you to be comforted in your prison. This is our prison sentence, and plus, the Most High has given us herbs. But I'm just going to jump straight into the scriptures. All right. So I don't want to dry talk. All right. This is Ecclesiasticus. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." Okay. Because as you see, his kingdom is crumbling and falling right now. All right. But when they were at their height, they could have, assisted, everybody, by giving everybody health care. Okay. Because they were getting it from the herbs anyway. They were getting it from Yahweh Shem Shai, but yet they would lessen the quantity of the quantity and the quality of the herb that is given. That's why all these supplement companies, they're not giving you the full brunt of the plant. All right, they're only giving you enough to keep coming back. All right, but I'll continue. It says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed, and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust is not altogether wiped away. Okay, because Esau Edom has a perpetual hatred, against again, you so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negro descent. Okay, he doesn't like you, in his society. The only time that he liked you was whenever you were in chains. Okay, and that's what he's trying to get back to. Okay, because ever since President 47 got in there, all right, he's been taken away from your so-called rights. All right, you don't have rights, you have privileges. Okay, you niggas are supposed to be here for perpetual slavery. All right, perpetual servitude. Okay, but we did for 350 years. We were nurtured over here, up until the time that we're at right now, where Yahweh Shem Shai is going to come back and judge, the world which he made. Loosely paraphrasing, all right? So with that said, I'm going to go into the scriptures to show that Yahweh Shem Shai has set up a better way for us to go besides leaning on Esau Edom or Egypt for help, because what's that? How this system is like a broken reed or a broken walking stick, loosely paraphrasing, that would stab you in your hand, because you're trying to lean upon your enemy for help, and for health, but I was gonna pull. Let's go to 2nd Esdras, chapter 15, verse 1. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai." It says, "And cause them to be written up in paper, for they are faithful and true." Okay, so the words that is being spoken is from on high. It's from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, and in them you should be getting, you know, a lot of information, you know, for you to learn thereby. All right, this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 38, verse 4. It says, "Yahweh by Shemi Shai hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them." Okay, so the medicines and the herbs which Yahweh Shemi Shai has made, you know, which Esau siphons off, you know, a minuscule amount to make his uh, pharmaceuticals. Okay, uh, these herbs are meant for healing. Okay, and whenever you get into the herbs and realize, you know, some herbs are very beneficial to the body. Okay, like and they will help sustain minor ailments from becoming major problems. Okay, we here at GMS, you know, love to use the herbs. All right, because it's always a benefit. All right, it's always a benefit, rather than going to Esau Edom and letting him put all kind of monkey kidneys and beaver livers, and you know, because he's a mad scientist. Okay, he's created the Drug and Food Administration, right? He has tainted your food or poisoned your food, so you can go to him for the pharmakia, all right, the witchcraft, all right, to mask the problem. He's not trying to heal, all right. Only Yahweh Shemiel Shai, you know, is giving you things to be healed, so you don't have to go back for the same ailment. Okay, whenever you remove, you know, said infirmity, it is gone. Esau wants to keep you in that perpetual hell where you're going to him for the one of all things. And that's what's being set up in this system that we see that is before us right now. All right, these small hats, all right, these red-blooded Americans over here, all right, they want you to be lock, stock, and barrel, focus on what they want you to focus on. All right, eat what they want you to eat, drink whatever they want you to drink, because they're taking up all the food, they're taking up all the water. You know, they're poisoning the skies. All right, Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, is doing all these things to make you go to him for the want of all things. Okay, and we've been over here at GMS been telling you, you know, that these things are coming to pass, or is going to come to pass, and you 2/3 Jakes have this whole time, you know, fanned your hand or came up against us. You want to take us out, you know, because you're comfortable in the hell that you've been living in, you know. So, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, you know, through a spirit and power of how about Shemiel Shai, because he's coming with healing in his wings, as it says in that Sirach, chapter 17, I think it's verse 26. Gun. It says, but yeah, I'll start at verse 25. It says, "Return unto Yahweh by Shemiel Shai." It says, "And forsake thy sin." It says, make thy prayer before his face and offend less. So that's what we need to be doing. We need to be offending less before the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Shai, and turning from the wickedness that we are going through in this society, and what we have perpetually been going through, this whole time. Okay, verse 26 says, "Turn again to Yahweh Bashim Shai, and turn away from iniquity." And iniquity means sin upon sin, right? For he will lead thee out of darkness uh, in into the light of health, and hate thou abominations vehemently. All right. So it says, turn again to Yahweh by Shemi Shai. All right, because for one, Yahweh Shai, he is our mediator between us and the Most High Yahweh. Okay, he is our mediator. All right, and it says, and turn away from iniquity, sin upon sin. All right, it says, for he will lead thee out of darkness into the light of health. Okay, because the darkness is all around us as we can see it. All right, this darkness is this society, is Babylon the Great. This is a big part of darkness, because there's sin all around us. You can fall into whatever over here. It says, for he will lead thee out of darkness into the light of health. All right, because health is seeking Yahweh by Shemi Shai in all his ways. All right, that's healthy. All right, that's going to lead you to the kingdom. All right, which is salvation. Okay, and it says, and hate thou abominations vehemently. So immediately, don't be pity patting around with it. Let Yahweh by Shemi Shai cleanse you. All right, but with that, this wasn't supposed to be long. Hey, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Kakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Red Millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations to all the Achaimites in the four corners, truth and sincerity. Shalom, shalom.